Welcome back, Hammers. If you love West Ham news and updates, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what you think. Let's get started. Friends, West Ham supporters, take a deep breath because today's chat is a serious one. The news around our club never stops, and as always, there's much more between the lines than it seems. Let's start by talking about a name many still remember fondly, even if his spell left some doubts: Nayef Aguerd. The Moroccan defender who joined West Ham 3 years ago is now shining in a different setting. Olympique de Marseille signed him on the last day of the transfer window for about 23 million euros. And honestly, it looks like the move has done him good. At first, everyone thought it was just a normal deal. But the truth has now come out: coach Roberto De Zerbi was the real driving force behind the signing. According to Marseille's sporting director Mehdi Benatia, it was the manager himself, who said, loud and clear, "Stop. Everything I want, Nayef Aguerd." And let's be honest, when a coach speaks with that much conviction, it's because he's seen something special in the player. And the result? There it is. Since his arrival, Aguerd has already played 5 matches, and Marseille have kept clean sheets in 4 of them. A performance that stands out. Last weekend, he was one of the best players in their 3-0 win over Metz, and clearly he's not hiding his happiness. In an interview, Aguerd made it clear that the main reason he accepted the challenge in France was the coach's playing style. He said, "Everything is about the manager. The credit goes to him. I like to play with a high line to press to dominate the game. That's why I came." He also thanked the club for helping him settle in, quickly mentioning teammates like Balerdi and Pavard and Benatia himself, who supported him a lot through the process. It's interesting, isn't it? Here at West Ham, Aguerd always seemed like a player searching for his place. Sometimes solid, other times uncertain, especially under Graham Potter, who only used him in 2 league matches before being sacked at the end of September. Now, in a different environment, he's regained confidence and is playing his best football. It really makes you think about how much context can influence a player's performance. A manager who believes in you, a system that suits your strengths, and suddenly you're back to shining again. It's not always about talent. Sometimes it's just the wrong place at the wrong time. And that's when we as supporters can't help but wonder, how many good players have we seen pass through West Ham without ever really taking off? Players with potential, but for some reason they just didn't deliver as expected. Aguerd might just be another name on that list. But what remains from all this is the lesson. Football is made of cycles, and this is another chapter showing how much our club needs stability. There's no point in changing managers after every setback or signing players who don't fit the system. What we need is coherence, planning, and above all, a clear philosophy, something that, let's be honest, has been missing in recent years. Before we move on, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps the Claret and Blue family united and helps make West Ham stronger every single day. While Aguerd is rediscovering his best form in France, West Ham seem to be going through one of those phases where supporters feel the team is going in circles. Every new headline feels like déjà vu. We've seen this film before. A squad rebuilt and a rushed decisions with no clear direction, and fans still waiting for answers. The truth is, the club is still trying to find itself after Graham Potter's departure. He arrived with fine words: renewal, long-term project, attacking football. But in practice, it was a different story. Poor choices piled up, results didn't follow, and before anyone noticed, the castle of ideas had already fallen apart. Potter made a crucial mistake by not bringing in a striker, and that's no small matter. It's the kind of failure that lingers for years. Since Antonio stopped being that tireless forward who fought for every ball, West Ham have never found a real replacement, and it's not for lack of warning. Fans have been saying it for ages. There's no presence in the box, no reference point, no reliable man to turn games around when all else fails. Even so, the club kept pretending everything was fine. New players arrived, hopeful signings, raw talents, and nothing changed. Nicholas Füllkrug is the most recent example. A gamble that hasn't paid off. The effort is there, sure, but the impact is minimal. Supporters watch and feel something's missing. That spark, that strength that changes a match. Now, under Nuno Espirito Santo, there's a visible attempt to reorganize the team. But he inherited a squad built from years of mismatched ideas. A group made up of fragments from different managers, as if each left behind a different piece of the puzzle. That explains why the team sometimes feels disconnected. What's even more worrying is the situation off the pitch. The English press has been relentless. The club's numbers suggest a significant financial loss is looming. Because of that, the upcoming January transfer window will likely be cautious. No big signings, no expensive dreams. The plan, it seems, will be to seek loans, short-term reinforcements to cover the gaps without straining the budget. And amidst all this, rumors have surfaced about West Ham potentially bringing in a player on loan from Real Madrid. Sounds exciting, right? A big name, a talent from a European giant. But that's when seasoned fans sigh because they know that too often the club goes for quick fixes when the real issue is long-term. The truth is West Ham have been improvising far too much. Instead of planning, they react. Instead of building, they patch things up. Every season feels like a new beginning, a new speech, a new promise. And the cycle repeats as if the club were always starting from scratch. Potter was just another chapter in an old story. The poor decisions didn't start with him, and sadly they won't end overnight. But they should serve as a warning. Without a real plan, West Ham will keep being that team that lives off flashes. A good match here, a spark of hope there. And then the same old emptiness returns. The older supporters, those who've seen both glory and struggle, know that football is about identity. And that's exactly what's missing now. The team has lost its sense of purpose. It's hard to connect with a squad that changes every 6 months with managers who talk a lot but show little. That's why now is a time for reflection. The club needs to decide what it wants to be, whether it just wants to survive in the Premier League or become a team that truly inspires pride again, one that looks forward without forgetting its roots. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the Claret and Blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. West Ham fans, it looks like something new is in the air. And this time, it's the kind of rumor that stirs curiosity even among the most skeptical. The name of the moment is Endrick, the young Brazilian forward owned by Real Madrid. A 19-year-old surrounded by huge expectations, but one who still hasn't found the space he hoped for in Spanish football. And that's where West Ham enter the picture. The London club are reportedly ready to open their doors so the youngster can finally get minutes on the pitch play regularly and show what he's capable of. At first glance, it sounds bold. After all, we're talking about one of the biggest prospects in world football, a player who arrived in Europe with the aura of a rising star. But football, as we all know, doesn't always follow the script we expect. Endrick has faced natural challenges. Real Madrid is a club of giants full of established names, and there's little time for adaptation. When a young player doesn't play, he loses confidence, rhythm, and above all, visibility. That's why the idea of a loan deal sounds logical for everyone. Real would let their youngster mature, while West Ham would gain a talented reinforcement hungry to prove himself. But the big question is, would he really be the answer to West Ham's attacking problems? The team has struggled badly in front of goal. Since Antonio stopped being that explosive, decisive striker, West Ham haven't had a true, reliable center forward. Phil Krug arrived with expectation but hasn't convinced yet. And every goalless match feels heavier, because in the Premier League, if you don't score, you don't survive. A player like Endrick could bring something different. Youth boldness, that spark of energy that lifts everyone around him. Even without experience in English football, he has something West Ham desperately need: courage. The courage to take on defenders, to dribble, to take risks. And that kind of attitude can be contagious within a group that has sometimes looked flat. Of course, there are risks. English football is physical, intense, and unforgiving to those who take too long to adapt. But sometimes risk is exactly what makes the difference. Sometimes you have to take a chance on something new, on someone eager to prove himself. And Endrick seems to be exactly that kind of player, gifted but burning with the need to show the world how much more he can offer. Older fans know how this works. Football is made of cycles, and when a young player arrives with that hunger, he can change the entire atmosphere. He can inspire others, bring motivation, remind the veterans why they're there. And if Nuno Espirito Santo can harness that energy, he could turn a simple gamble into a decisive weapon. Right now, West Ham don't just need a name, they need attitude. And maybe a young, hungry player from a European giant is exactly the kind of signing that can bring hope back. Fans are tired of empty talk and cold signings. They want to see someone with fire in his eyes, someone who plays as if every minute were his last. And maybe, just maybe, this Brazilian could be exactly that. The name Endrick might sound unlikely, but it's exactly the kind of move that can reignite something inside West Ham. When the club allows itself to dream, even if it's a risky bet, it shows that it still wants to grow, that it hasn't settled, and that in itself is already a good sign. Because the truth is, West Ham have been stuck for a while between the past and the future. between the need to modernize and the fear of losing their identity. And sometimes all it takes is one name to bring fresh energy. Someone who changes the mood walks into the dressing room and reminds everyone what it means to play with joy. Endrick is young, talented, and above all driven, and drive is what turns potential into reality. He needs to play to feel the pitch, the contact, the challenge, and if there's a club where he can truly grow while being tested, that club is West Ham. Here nothing comes easy. Here everything is earned. Older supporters know this well. West Ham have always been about grit, about fight, about believing when no one else does. That Upton Park spirit still lives in every fan who wears claret and blue. And it's exactly that strength that can turn a 19-year-old boy into something greater. If he understands what it means to defend this badge, if he steps onto the pitch with an open heart, he'll win over this fan base in no time. And that's the point. More than numbers or stats, what West Ham need is heart. What the team has lost in recent years wasn't talent, it was soul. It was that connection between player and stand, between sweat and pride. And sometimes all it takes is one player willing to run, to fight, and to smile to change everything. Nuno Espirito Santo seems to be realizing that little by little. He knows that modern football is built on tactics, data, and strategy. But he also knows supporters don't fall in love with spreadsheets. They fall in love with players who leave everything on the pitch. If Endrick arrives with that mindset, he could become the symbol of this turning point. Of course, no one expects miracles. The boy is still growing, still learning, but what he can bring is something money can't buy: enthusiasm. And in a team searching for its path again, that's priceless. Just imagine, a youngster from Real Madrid stepping onto the London Stadium, pitch full of energy, eager to prove he belongs in the Premier League. The fans will feel it. They'll recognize the courage. They'll applaud the effort, and maybe they'll witness the birth of a new story within the club. Because in the end, that's what West Ham live for. Stories, resilience, and surprises. And if this loan really happens, let's hope the boy understands the size of the challenge ahead, and the size of the passion waiting to meet him. West Ham isn't the easiest destination. It never has been. But it's one of the most human, the most genuine, the most full of soul. And maybe that's exactly what Endrick needs right now. A place that challenges him, demands from him, but also embraces him. If this partnership works out, it could be the start of something special, not just for him, but for the entire club. A breath of youth, a touch of boldness, a new chapter in a story that never stops reinventing itself. And that's why, even without guarantees, supporters can allow themselves to dream. Because sometimes dreaming is the first step toward believing again. And believing, well, that's something West Ham fans have always known how to do better than anyone. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the claret and blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. In the match against Arsenal, one of the toughest clashes of the season, West Ham showed clear signs that the time for soft hands is over. First of all, nobody likes to see a player get injured. Nobody. May Martin Odegaard and Declan Rice recover quickly. That's something every football lover wishes for. But what we saw in that match was a West Ham side that for the first time in a long while decided to truly compete on equal terms. After the storm that marked Graham Potter's farewell, the new manager Nuno Espirito Santo had just 1 week to prepare the team, and what he managed in such a short time could already be felt. The team looked more compact, more intense, more ready to fight for every ball. Max Kilman and Mavropanos showed something the fans had been missing: desire. The desire to defend, to throw themselves in front of the ball, to sweat for the badge. And that's the point. Supporters can accept a defeat, but they never accept a lack of effort. At the Emirates, it was clear that Nuno had brought a new spirit into the dressing room, one of resilience and fight. West Ham didn't sit back waiting for Arsenal to play around with the ball. On the contrary, they made it tough, earned respect, and showed they wouldn't be an easy sparring partner in the Premier League. Of course, Arsenal are technically superior. No one doubts that. But there's a difference between losing and surrendering. And this time, West Ham didn't surrender. The team played with determination, and even if the attacking quality still needs improvement, what we saw was a defense with backbone, something that had been missing for months. The case of Odegaard shows exactly what's changed. That hard challenge which led to his substitution symbolized a transformation. Arsenal, used to facing a passive West Ham, suddenly met a side that fights, presses, tackles, and makes opponents think twice before touching the ball. And it's not about violence. The numbers speak for themselves, 2 yellow cards, no reds. It was a tough match, not a dirty one. A game played by a team that understood what English football has always rewarded. Grit. For too long, that fire was missing. The team lacked that blood-in-the-eyes attitude, that desire not to let the opponent play freely. Under Potter, the team seemed hesitant, fragile, easily broken when the pressure mounted. Now under Nuno, you can feel a different energy. You can see a more united group, more committed, more aware of what it means to wear this shirt. And that's the kind of change that makes all the difference. Because football begins with mentality. When a team believes it can fight, everything changes. Confidence grows, passing improves, positioning sharpens, and even the supporters feel proud again to see West Ham truly competing. Of course, there's still a lot to do. The next step is turning that defensive strength into control, creating more chances, dominating possession, and above all, winning with authority again. No one wants to see a West Ham that only defends. Fans want to see a team that plays with courage. Even so, what Nuno has shown in this short time is encouraging. For the first time in months, West Ham had a spine. The team was tough but fair, competitive yet disciplined, and that, my friends, is the foundation of everything. The Premier League is a war of endurance. Those without strength to fight are left behind. Nuno seems to have understood that quickly. He started working, from the inside out, rebuilding confidence, spirit, and the identity the team had lost. And if this is the first step in a new era, then maybe we're witnessing the beginning of a West Ham with soul once again. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, share, and of course subscribe to the channel for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.